Japan Anime News, powered by Newtype. From last week to this week, I've been quite busy to the point where my memory is a bit hazy. The last time we talked, I had just returned from Korea and was hosting an anime presentation event at Fuji TV on the same day. After that, although it's not something I need to explain in detail, there were 2 corporate event projects in 1 week. Additionally, I was also involved in regular broadcasts and filming during that time. Last week, there was a deadline for Comic Market. Are you familiar with Comic Market? It is probably the largest event held privately in Japan and apparently the largest indoor event in the world. Currently, it has been shortened from 3 days to 2 days since the COVID-19 pandemic. But even so, it attracts about 100,000 to 200,000 people a day. This event is essentially a doujinshi, self-published works, sales fair. I wonder what this is all about. As for what is happening in Japan, I'm just stating the facts. But if there happens to be someone listening from overseas, they might think, what on earth are they talking about? First of all, doujinshi itself is about taking existing works and creating your own unique interpretations in the form of stories or illustrations and publishing them as books. This is something that cannot be sold in general distribution or bookstores. There are rules like that at events like Comiket. To sell in bookstores, you need to obtain an ISBN number, but anything that has an ISBN cannot be distributed at Comic Market. By the way, the term used for selling is hanpu. Only those who create their own works voluntarily can do this. I've been doing this since I was a high school student, back when it was held in Harumi, so it's been over 30 years. Am I crazy? I've been going to these events. You know, if I don't go to these gatherings during the New Year and Obon, I feel like something is missing as an otaku. But after 30 years, we were teenagers back then. It was a festival for young people, but everyone just keeps going. Even now, there are quite a few people who are older and still participating. I'm not someone who can draw or write novels, but here I am talking. Since I'm talking, I thought I should do something, so I create rakugo every time. This explanation might be a bit odd, but there is something called rakugo in Japan. How should I put it? It's a performance art where a person in traditional clothing sits seiza, kneeling, and tells a story. This storytelling art form is known as classical rakugo, and it's said that there are about 300 to 400 established stories, each one a complete narrative. Like Shakespeare. Is that an exaggeration? It's definitely an exaggeration. There are even anime adaptations, like Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju and Joshiraku, right? Joshiraku. There are also things like Rakugo Tenyo Oyui. I don't know how many people are aware of these, but they do exist, all of them. As for Joshiraku, the song by Momoiro Clover Z was used for the ending, and it went viral worldwide. Yes, the song by Momoiro Clover Z. For some reason, Nippon Broadcasting Hyakei went viral. Some people might know about it. There is such entertainment, but it basically doesn't have characters. It's stories that have been passed down, like an old man and an old woman, or Kuma-san and Hatian, having conversations like, "Hey, Kuma-san, what is it, Hatian?" I've been replacing those with, "Hey, Amuro, what is it, Bright?" for about 15 years. It's a question of whether I'm just bored, isn't it? It feels like I'm just killing time. But if I'm going to create something, I have to write the script myself since no one else will do it, which is to be expected. I come up with the ideas and sneak into the Nippon Broadcasting Studio to create it. Whether to keep that part vague or not is up to you. Honestly, since my filming hasn't worn out the studio's resources, it's fine. I'm not damaging anything. I ask a friend to design it, I do the authoring of the audio for the CD myself, and deliver it to the CD pressing company. Right now, I'm working with a professional rakugo performer and a professional kodan storyteller, the 3 of us together. You might wonder what I'm doing, but I'm involved all the way up to submitting the data. So, I had a professional draw the jacket for me. Aoki Ume. Yes, that's right. I've known her for a long time, and because she's the character designer for Madoka Magica, I've had her draw pictures of townspeople for me. It's really amazing. This time, I seriously pulled an all-nighter for about 2 days straight. It can't be helped. It seems there were some incidents this year. You see, for the past 2 years, we've been submitting data for recordings. The current trend is to create a DDP file on a CD and send it to the pressing company, which then uses that data to press the CDs. In the past, we used to burn it onto a CDR and use that as the master, but this time we submitted a DDP file. However, I was told that the file format was incorrect, and I was like, what? so I had to redo the submission that had already failed once. But I figured out what the issue was. Turns out it was this. On the day of the deadline at noon, I realized it at 12:10. And after receiving a call from them, I managed to get it in just in time. So I was able to confirm that the submission was successfully completed. Therefore, I will be participating in Komiket this year as well. On December 30th, I will be at booth 48B in Block A of East Hall 2. You know, there are definitely popular genres at Komiket. Nowadays, there are so many people creating male-oriented fan works for Blue Archive. While there are plenty of those, I've been making rakugo CDs with anime themes for 15 years, and no one else has come out with anything similar. What I'm trying to do is just too niche. Surprisingly, when it comes to speaking, if someone who isn't used to it tries to talk, it can be hard to listen to, and because of that, I haven't gained many followers. So it's a minor genre, and there are many people who want to participate in Komiket, right? There are a lot of people who want to join, and it's a lottery every time to get in. I've never lost that lottery. Because the circles don't overlap. Komiket values diversity after all. People who are doing something different from others can participate, so I'll be there again this year. When asked, so what are you going to present this time? I mentioned a professional storyteller, and it's really impressive. I'm always a bit amazed while working together. This time he's talking about the origins of Back to the Future in his storytelling. I was truly impressed by how he discusses how challenging it was for Robert Zemeckis. Also, there's another person, Yoshiko Shunpute, who has recently succeeded the third generation of Shurin Hakuchi. He's someone who turns contemporary topics and current events into storytelling. There is someone who has taken on the title of a daimyo. Another person, Shunpute Yoshiku, became a master last year, I think, but I've been doing this since he was in the Chiba University Comedy Club. 15 years is a long time when I think about it. This time, he showcased his talent as a villainous combatant, doing something that really felt like a special effects show, while I created a rakugo based on Jujutsu Kaisen. I made rakugo based on both Jujutsu Kaisen and the classic rakugo Akubishinan. By the way, this will only be interesting to those who know both the classic rakugo Akubishinan and Jujutsu Kaisen. I'll say this up front. I'm only doing this for people who like classic rakugo and anime, so I won't accept complaints from those who don't understand. Just wanted to make that clear from the start. If you're interested, let's meet at Komiket. If you bring an acrylic stand, we can take a photo, or really anything else. Actually, taking photos at the booth is generally not allowed due to Komiket's regulations, as it can lead to serious issues. However, if there's no line, it's totally fine. When there is a line, I won't be able to sign or take photos with the acrylic stands, and you'll have to wait a bit. But if there's no line, we can keep going without any problem. Feel free to come anytime. I will probably be at the company until late at night, the day before, due to a live broadcast. But I plan to be there from morning until evening for Comic Market 105. Comic Market started around 1975, so it's the same age as me, if I remember correctly. By the way, the Nippon Broadcasting System's charity broadcast, Radio Charity Music-thon, also started on December 24th, 1975. Since I was born on December 12th, it began just 2 weeks after my birth. However, while Comic Market has been going on for 15 consecutive years, I haven't received any invitations for Music-thon at all. The company's judgment seems to be that he doesn't seem to have a sense of charity, and that perception has persisted even as the top management has changed over the years. Now let's begin with Japan anime news, powered by Newtype. This program is a podcast that delivers anime information to the world through the multilingual voice translation tool Lingueene. Based on the latest anime information gathered by the Newtype editorial team at KADOKAWA, I, Hisanori Yoshida, will convey Japan's anime demand and culture to the world. This episode is recorded on December 16th, 2024, and we are also using the multilingual voice translation tool Lingueene for translation, so please be aware that non-Japanese languages may contain inaccuracies due to AI translation. We welcome your feedback on the program using the hashtag #JAnime on social media. By the way, Mixi 2 suddenly started today without any prior notice, which has surprised some Japanese people. You can also send emails to janime@1242.com and we can read them here. It's mostly just a personal exchange with Kapin every week, but let's see the reactions from overseas. Yoshida-san, the story from your last trip to Korea was very interesting. I expected it to be a more tense situation. That's what the news makes you think, right? In terms of anime, it's nice to have elements like this. You tend to imagine a situation like the opening scene of Werewolf, but that was directed by Mamoru Oshii and storyboarded by Hiroyuki Okiura. right? It was completely different. It was much more real than the reporting media, which tends to convey the local situation seriously. I think there weren't any media outlets that described the people gathered for the protests in Korea as if it were a festival. But if you go, it's definitely more like a festival than werewolf, right? You'd understand if you went. Happy birthday. Thank you. Will you be expanding your activities overseas even more in the coming year? You've already been abroad 3 times since this program started, right? That's true. I received a message wishing you a wonderful year ahead, but really it's more accurate to say that the global enthusiasm for anime is incredible rather than just me. Today, I attended a thank you party organized by 81 Produce, a talent agency with many voice actors. I was quite surprised. When I heard thank you party, I thought it would be something like a wedding reception with around 100 people, but it was far from that. As soon as I entered the banquet hall on the first basement level of the Hyatt Regency, one of Tokyo's largest hotels, I was taken aback, thinking, is this really the place? There were probably as many people as at Zep Tokyo. Seriously, it felt like it was at least twice the size of Shibuya Club Quattro, packed with people. I can't say for sure, but there were definitely over 1,000 people there. It felt like there might have been around 2,000 people as I walked around the venue. At times like that, it's a standing party, so everyone tends to cluster around tables. But I wasn't particularly hungry, and I thought, what is this? For a moment, I considered leaving because it felt overwhelming. However, I thought, but I shouldn't do that, since there were voice actors just hanging out normally. Everyone had name tags, and even from a distance I recognized various voice actors like Hidaneni-chan and others. The most interesting part was that there was a voice actor named Wataru Komada, who is over 180 centimeters tall. Even from afar, I could spot Komada-kun, and there was a situation where everyone was rushing over to him. So, there were about 2 people from my company who hadn't had any meetings at all. While everyone tended to stay in one place, I was like a Roomba doing a really rough cleaning going around the venue. I realized that for every meter I walked, I ran into someone I knew, so I spent about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, there before heading back. During that time, there were people who recognized me as someone who hosts events, and they said things like, how about we work together on something next time? I thought, thank you, while wondering what I was doing at another company's year-end party. Among the contacts I received, there were indeed people saying, we're making a movie in Dalian, China, and I thought, if I'm invited, I'm going. I will go. That was probably the hottest news of the week. You don't often hear such stories from within the anime industry, right? Now, let's introduce the latest news about anime that you might be curious about. By the way, Wataru Komada is one of the important characters in Hypnosis Mic, isn't he? The audience participation movie Hippumai has been announced with a total of 48 routes and 7 different endings. This project features 48 different story routes that change based on fan votes during the screening. I think everyone has thought of this at least once, but then you realize it's impossible, right? The project started in October 2020 and took over 4 years to complete. I wonder how this will turn out. Movies can be switched out, and there are also screenings for the next slots. So I think there must be some requirement that the story has to fit within the same runtime. The length of the movie itself has to remain the same. Moreover, there are definitely many people who will have seen all the different versions. How will they handle that? Will it be okay if a Blu-ray comes out? I think the latter part will probably change during the screening, somewhere along the way. I used to perform as a host in a stage adaptation of an anime called Nanamaru Sanbatsu, which is a quiz-themed work that was also made into a manga. In that stage production, the story changed only at the end. They actually held a quiz competition on stage at the end. That was quite challenging, but I feel like doing this in a movie would be extremely difficult, right? In Hypnosis Mic, there are different divisions, like the Ikebukuro division and the Yokohama division. If you want to see the Osaka division win, you might go to Osaka. It's possible that they could win all the time there, right? I'm really curious about how it all works. There are 7 different endings, so I wonder how that plays out. I've watched a lot of anime, but I haven't seen anything like this so far. Next, we have See You Tomorrow at the Food Court. It features high school girls just having conversations in the food court. It's been announced, and it's scheduled to start airing in 2025. Also, there's a manga called Takopi's Original Sin that has gained some attention. The anime adaptation has been decided, and details will be announced at the Jump Festa happening this weekend. There seems to be a lot to talk about regarding Jump Festa next week. Additionally, the main character of the new Crayon Shin-chan movie is Bo-chan, and the setting is India. Recently, there was also O Bo-chama-kun, but surprisingly it seems that showing your butt might work in India. The 30-second film, Crayon Shinchan, Super Curry, Scorching Kasukabe Dancers will be released in the summer of 2025. The mysterious Bochan takes the lead, and the Kasukabe Defense Force will have their first big dance in India. By the way, Crayon Shinchan is incredibly popular in South Korea. Personally, I felt that it might even surpass the popularity of Doraemon there. So after that, in that genre, it's Ikutalira-chan, Yoasobi. Yoasobi is really amazing in East Asia too. It's super popular everywhere you go. They are in charge of the opening for the second season of the anime Kusuria no Hitorigoto, which is their first solo TV anime theme song. I see. Also, the other day during Fujiani at the Fuji animation presentation, we talked about the project starting for Assassination Classroom, right? We mentioned it a bit. Not just Assassination Classroom, but they're also doing One Punch Man. The third season is scheduled to air in 2025 for its 10th anniversary. Speaking of One Punch Man, Jam Project is doing the opening, right? Jam Project is said to have the most famous song in the world right now. It's overwhelmingly breaking through because One Punch Man is so amazing globally. I believe it has the highest number of views on YouTube, right? The theatrical version of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Infinity Castle Arc is set to be released in 2025. I actually had the opportunity to perform a Demon Slayer stage in Korea. Regarding this, when I did the Demon Slayer stage, I talked about the Infinity Castle story. And while it's okay to say that they are working on it, they couldn't disclose the release date. The reason is that it was actually announced in Brazil, and it should have been revealed there. I think there was talk about Takahiro Sakurai and Kengo Kawanishi going to Brazil. I might be mistaken, so I apologize if I am. In any case, Demon Slayer is popular in Brazil as well. So, next I'm going to write about Colopla's new game, Isekai Infinity Isekai. The titles for the first season have been announced, and it seems like they're mixing in everything, such as Mushoku Tensei 2. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, and Sword Art Online, among others. I think that's about it for this week's anime news. There's just been so much going on that even though it was only a week ago, I can't remember who the people were that performed with me on stage in Korea for Demon Slayer. Who were they again? I'm pretty sure Hanae-kun wasn't there this year. I have performed on stage with Hanae-kun in Korea before, though. The script might be on my phone. Well, let me check. Oh, right. It was Shimono-san and Akari Kito. I just remembered. I hope everything is okay. Lately, I feel like I have too much information. I should have a bit more free time next week, since I have a health checkup tomorrow. I think I need to take a breather, but I've also been watching anime in between. There's the Tsuzukimi event, right? It's next week, on the 27th. I always watch all the trailers for the upcoming anime in the next season, and it takes about 3 hours to watch them all, which I've been doing for the past 10 years. It feels like I've seen it 40 times now. My colleague Nomoto has been helping me with this all along, and I really appreciate all that effort. So, that's it for today. I'm looking forward to your comments with the hashtag JAnime and emails at janime@1242.com. I'll bring you the latest anime news again next week. This was Yoshida Hisanori, a broadcaster from Nippon Broadcasting.